Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Wherever you are on this amazing planet that we happen to exist upon.
I'm Ariel.
I'm Shya.
Welcome to being here.
Yes.
Today's episode is relationship magic. And can I just say you deserve magic?
Thank you.
You do.
I'll accept it.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's always a surprise to me, but really the truth, that when I'm being kind to myself, my ability to relate with you soars.
Yeah, well, it's that way with me too,
Yes.
When I'm being kind with myself. Because what I've realized as we began this conversation a moment ago was that we were both introduced to our world through our families. And the people in our families didn't have a textbook on relationship.
No.
They didn't have an interest, really. It was really about you followed the dictates of the culture, which means at a certain age, you got married and had children because you had to propagate the species. And that's what people did.
And it's passed on. And we know it was passed on because we're here.
Yes. But not only that, the way people related to each other, it wasn't but 200 years ago, or even 100 years ago, perhaps, that women did not have the right to vote in the United States. I don't know the year that it happened.
The other thing that's very interesting, too, is that we had very different cultures, you and I.
You betcha.
My family was really pro schooling. And the fact that you, over your lifetime in high school, had at least an entire year's worth of skipping school and nobody noticed.
Well, I had a sister who was very, very ill at the time and eventually died of the disease that she had. And so my family was lost in a major upset, as was I.
But during that time, you primarily raised yourself.
Absolutely.
So it was very different. When we got together, we had two radically different cultures that were quite awesome in that they complemented each other, but they were not the same. So if I made the idea that Shya would say approach holidays the same as I did.
You mean get presents for everybody?
Yeah, it was not his culture. So it was a fun exploration.
But again, we did not learn to be kind to ourselves. That we had to find out over years of bouncing up against each other.
Mm-hmm. The rock polisher of relationship.
That's right.
Where you jump in, you close the door, and you bump off all the rough edges until you're smooth and hopefully shiny.
Yeah, well, some people get very bruised by that and end up leaving somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm, it's true.
We managed to make it through to the other end. So, actually, are we at the other end?
No.
Oh, good.
We're continuing. We're polishing, ever polishing.
Okay, ever polishing.
And it's fun.
So we have a guest.
We do. We'll take her. Why don't you come on, Vivian, tell people where you are, and then between the three of us, let's talk about listening.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Nice.
And I'm calling in from Munich, Germany.
All
well,
right.
welcome. And yes. I'm sure for our listeners, it's nice to hear you because they don't have the luxury we have of actually seeing you. So
true. So I would like to share something.
Sure.
Please.
I had a conversation with my boss yesterday where he had to tell me that he needs to let go of me.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to furlough me first for a couple of months, but he doesn't think he can continue to hang on. In fact, our company has been doing very badly lately. I work in the film industry, and it has had some rough patches the last few months, and we are feeling it. And so in the last few months, and we had a conversation about this a couple of months before, you and I, and because I was having some run-ins with my boss, and ever since we talked, I sort of said, relax, stop, and could see where he was coming from. And ever since then, it's been fine. And actually, the fact that he let go of me yesterday was a nice conversation. And he's willing to support me in finding another job, which is an unusual kind of situation. And yeah, so what I wanted to share is that, even though it's been rough and I've lost my job, I feel like we were able to, separate in a decent way.
Odd as this may sound, congratulations.
Well, here's the other thing, my dear. You may have been done with the job.
It could be. Could be.
I don't know whether they're closing the business down completely or not, but if they're not, they're holding on to those people that still really, really want to be there. And I wonder if in your truth of truths, you were done with that job and you were just hanging on to it for a job, rather than you were passionately involved in what you were doing and it was exciting for you.
It's absolutely true. And I actually feel like, well, first of all, it's been a wonderful opportunity for me to be with this company, because I had left the film business a long time ago and came back and was able to learn about the film industry again. And I was right at the source, actually, of the business, because we're a service company, and I learned all the technology that I had lost in all these years. So I'm kind of prepared to take it further again, and I like the idea.
Well, work or a job is a little bit like a relationship in a way. We're talking here about relationship magic. Well, if you're in a relationship that isn't fulfilling, but it's the best you can do, so you hang out in it rather than it is your choice of choices. It's your first choice. It's what you want to do. It's where you want to be. Well, then that time that you're spending in that relationship that may not be as fulfilling as possible. That was me being diplomatic. That isn't fulfilling. That's more is time that you cannot find the right one, because you're already occupied with something that is less than ideal, but it's a job. It's a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be the one that you are excited to go to every day.
However, I want to talk about listening and what you can really hear when you listen. So first of all, I was listening to you, Vivian, and there's still kind of a hard he, meaning I spoke to my boss yesterday, and it's not as smooth as if it were perhaps a she. There's a quality in how you hold him,
Mm-hmm.
as at least, like when they talk about, they do it now with coffee too, like coffee with overtones of citrus. And I read one the other day, and smell and overtones of mushrooms. I thought, I really don't want mushrooms in my coffee. But it's like overtones of adversary. You still hold them but I don't believe it's in particular the person as much as it is the gender. Is that possible?
Not sure.
It just didn't sound personal to him.
Well, I was caught by the he too. I didn't catch it as fully as Ariel did.
Mm-hmm.
But I was interested in seeing the gender.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing about it, Vivian. It wasn't like Vivian of old, where there was whole parts of yourself that you didn't see, how you held people.
Mm-hmm.
When I say overtones, it's just like a note of it.
Like a gossamer, like a spider web in thickness.
Here's the other word. He said to you that he doesn't think he can keep you. He's furloughing you at first.
Right.
I see it as an incredible opportunity to go about this period of time with passionate interest, not so that you retain the job, but you're actually wholeheartedly doing the job. Then what's going to happen? Either things will turn around and they'll say, hey, Vivian, we really could use you.
Mm-hmm.
Or you'll be so up to speed inside yourself that you'll be able to recognize opportunities, reach out to other people, and find
what's
next.
But I have a question. Are you going to continue working for any time at all in this company, or are you now furloughed?
No, I will be working most of December.
Well, that's perfect. That's exactly what Ariel's saying. If you go about going to work as though it's your idea and you enthusiastically engage in everything you do like it's your idea, then the whole thing can turn around in a moment.
Now, mind you, by the time this airs, December will be over, half of January will be over. Clearly, we are recording this ahead of time, partially when it airs. Shya and I will be in Costa Rica. So we're taking care of it in advance. But it still will be the same, that the information is the same, even if the timing is a little bit later than today.
Right.
How you do anything is how you do everything. And if you've been going about your job where you're working as though it's kind of okay, but not exactly what you want, I'd be willing to bet you're going about the rest of your life in a very similar manner. So when Ariel says to engage as though it's your idea and really go for it in the time you have left working there, that can shift your whole reality about everything you are engaged in.
Sure. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, well, ever since this business has been sort of going down, I felt my boss was controlling me more, and I did see that I reacted to that, and until I saw that he's worried and is in survival modus, and when I saw it, it calmed down, and so. But yes, my passion, it may have not been fully developed in this particular job, and probably parts of my life as well.
You have to realize that the industry that you're a part of, the entertainment industry, has gone through this huge stress time with people being on strike and projects being pushed back. I'd be shocked if your boss hadn't been stressed, and if the stress didn't have trickle down. And that's
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not an easy time right now. I mean, I'm not the only one who was furloughed. It's a third. We're a small company, so it's. But it's still in terms of the atmosphere there. It's a nice place. My boss is a nice guy. He has his edges, rough edges, but he's worried, and I see that, and and it's through engaging in my life. I'm not devastated. I'm willing to see it as an opportunity, and I'm going to enjoy my colleagues in December as well, and we're going to have a Christmas party, and yeah, so we'll see what's in store.
Well, we will.
We'll
see. We never know what's in store. We just called a friend of ours down in Costa Rica, and we found out that he's in a hospital and he's not doing all that well. And that we did not expect. And it's upsetting news in that we want the best for him. But, life keeps showing up the way it does. And you can either resist it the way it shows up, or you can discover how to embrace life as it shows up. And then you're there in your experience of living, rather than lost in thoughts and complaints that it isn't going the way you'd prefer.
Yes. Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us today, Vivian.
And Vivian, I'm really happy for you. See, life is full of new opportunities that are coming your way. And if you have fun with it, it could be really a lot of fun.
I still see, though, just a little bit. Now, of course, you sound like you're doing great, finding out you've been furloughed a couple of months, actually no longer have a job. That's awesome. But you can either take a wait and see attitude, or you can take a let's engage and see attitude. Clearly you're doing well, not doing the second guessing game of, why me? But there's a possibility of passionate self-expression that you're just on the edge of. And I have a feeling you'll experience life very differently if you let go of the conversation of my boss has rough edges and embrace how can I take care of him, my environment, the project, so that when I leave, everything is sparkling, including my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, great. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, very welcome.
It's time for our listener feedback spotlight.
Okay, so here we go.
We're going to hear from one of our listeners about how transformation has impacted her life or his life. Let's see.
Yeah. And if you'd like to learn more about what we're up to, you could register for any of our upcoming virtual courses.
Or sign up for our newsletter. Just visit
transformationmadeeasy.com.
It really is easy.
It is easy if you know the way.
I'm Jutta from Hademstorf in Germany, and I love transformation because it opened up so many possibilities for me in every area of my life, being at my job, being in my private life, private relationships, doing horseback riding, one of my passions. It's just everywhere, and it sets everything in place, or shows that everything actually is in place.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shya's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
We'll be back from Costa Rica and our instantaneous transformation adventures there in time for 2 magical relationships events. They're both evenings. We have Monday evening, February 5th. And then in the European time zone, the translated into German and back to English magical relationship event is Tuesday, February 6th. And then our next weekend seminar
is the power of listening. And that's a virtual seminar. And it's March 2nd and 3rd. So we'll be doing it via Zoom.
For our first in-person of the year, we'll be going to Hamburg, Germany in April. We're doing the Freedom to Breathe on the 18th, and then the course on simplicity, the 19th through 21st. You can find out about any of our seminars and register for any of them at
transformationmadeeasy.com.
Thank you. I almost said Living Made Easy. It's transformationmadeeasy.com. That was well done.
Well, I love that it's transformation made easy because it isn't difficult. The idea of living a magical life with well-being and not having to have conflict or disturbance and upset in your life. That's a very foreign concept. And for years and years, we searched independently and then together to find a way to have our lives be that magical experience of living. And we found it. And people who knew us before when we were searching said, "What are you doing now? This is a real thing." And we were doing nothing. We had, in fact, started to be kind to ourselves rather than chastise ourselves when things didn't go the way we would prefer. So our technology is based in being kind to yourself, discovering how to access and live in the current moment of your life, not getting lost and worrying about the future or complaining to yourself that you did your past wrong.
I love listening to Shya. We've been together more than 40 years, and I adore listening to him. Of course, I respect listening to myself, but it's such an incredible key to keeping your relationship alive and well and magical. I don't have that expectation that what he has to say I've heard before. And of course, from time to time, I get distracted or I'm in the midst of something and he talks to me and it doesn't register. He's like, "Did you hear me?" I was like, "Oh, no, I didn't."
It reminds me of this joke my father told us when he was on his deathbed in the hospital. He said, there was this man praying at the Wailing Wall, and a person came up to him and said, "Does this really work?" And he says, "Well, sometimes, but sometimes it's like talking to a wall."
That's me when I'm preoccupied.
Well, yes, when you're preoccupied, it's really difficult to hear anything anybody's saying.
Let's take our next guest.
Let's.
Hey, Miss Valerie, welcome to being here. Tell people where you're zooming in from.
Hi, I'm zooming in from Parsippany, New Jersey.
Hey, Val.
Hey, it's great to be here with you guys.
You too.
Thanks. It's funny. I know the format is I ask you a question, but I feel like I listen to you guys and I'm like, oh, I have all the answers I need. Like, I feel like when I just, am slowing down enough to hear and be where I am, it feels really good. And I guess two things. One, I love seeing and being in the presence of how you guys relate. It's something that on one hand, like, I feel that I want that all the time. And I feel like I'm married for now 6 years. And I love my husband. I love him, and I love being with him. And I feel sometimes I get in my own way of being kind to really myself and to him.
Well, my darling, it always starts with you. See, you can blame the circumstances. You can blame your husband. You can blame your son. You can blame it on whatever you want to blame your upsets on, but they're not. Your upsets are not caused by the circumstances that are happening in your life. It's, you get lost trying to get to what you think is going to be fulfilling and satisfying. And, your mind is a machine, talks to itself and says pretty much the same things all the time. Have you noticed?
Yes.
And so when you realize that you are not that machine, that you are the one that's listening to it, that you are the one that is being here in your life in this moment, and the magical, that's just so unbelievable that we are alive. Apparently this is the only planet in the universe that we know of that has life. But not only life, humanity has cognition. We know we're alive, but potentially. But when we're rushing to try to get to what we think is important, we miss the opportunity of being with what is. Yeah, I was down the beach yesterday. I was fishing, and the striped bass were offshore. They weren't in close. And then every once in a while, they'd show up right by the shore. And if you were there, you saw it as it was happening, because the bait fish started jumping out of the water to get away from these bigger fish. And a lot of these fishermen are casting their lures as far out as they can in hopes of finding a fish out there. But if you're really there and watching, you see that the fish aren't out there. They're right in by the shore. So I ran down the beach about 100 yards and threw my lure into the water and immediately hooked a fish.
Cool.
And it was so cool because I was there in my universe looking. People forget to use their eyes. They think. And have you noticed when you're thinking, you fall into middle space somewhere, like your eyes disassociate?
Yes.
But when you're thinking, it brings you into the moment. And driving home from the beach last night, I have to drive for about an hour and a half, and in heavy traffic, and it's dark, and it's been a long day, and I'm tired. And what I do to stay awake is keep my eyes looking at the road rather than thinking about anything else, because the being there keeps me alert. That's not a tip. It's just what I've noticed.
That's awesome. Well, when you talk about listening, it's similar. Listening to what someone is saying to you or what's happening around you, that brings me more alive and awake. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because see, your thoughts take you out of the moment. Your eyes, your ears bring you into the moment, into the environment that you're in, rather than thinking something better is coming down the road.
Well, I love this. I am similarly in a business of fishing. I work for a nonprofit, and I'm a fundraiser, and I do corporate development and corporate fundraising. And recently I have felt inspired to really look at, who is in our sphere? Who do I know? Who can I send one email to and it would make their day, so I've been doing more outreach. Like, I love how you describe, like, there's fish right in front of you. People are casting out because it's what we're told to do. You cast out, you do the things.
Right.
And
if you look, you see that there's something happening right here, right now.
Yes.
And Val, when you do that, when that becomes your way of operating into life, you see your husband when he comes home. It's not through a veil of so many things that are going on in your day-to-day life that you're incomplete with.
Well, there's something unstated in what you said, perhaps unstated to yourself by yourself, but is obvious. If you're looking around at the pool of people you're already working with and seeing whose day you can make by sending them an email, first of all, I didn't hear it like it's a manipulation for them to give you more money, although at some point they might actually be inspired to do that. What's unspoken but obvious is that you recognize that you make a difference. That you matter, that an email from you matters. So it's not just like, yeah, I got to do these 10 emails today. They're on my list.
As you said that, so Ariel had some things to do today. And so I went into town to do some shopping. And then I returned some things that are going to go back to Amazon. And the place you do it is at a Staples store. And so I went there to return these 2 items that need to be returned. And there was a young lady behind the counter. And I interacted with her like she was my friend. Like she was who was supposed to be there in that moment. And she asked me about the things I was returning. She says, so you're returning? I said, I'm returning from my wife. And she says, well, your wife will be happy. And I said, no, I'll be happy. It was like our life is about being well, not about complaining about that you got to do what you got to do to get through your day. I had the challenge of finding some organic Honeycrisp apples.
Ooh, yum.
I found them, but they weren't where I had expected them to be.
So
they weren't in Staples. They were not in Staples.
No.
But, like life is either an exciting adventure. What's her name said this? Helen Keller.
Right.
Says, life is either an exciting
adventure or nothing.
That's right. Daring adventure. Mm-hmm. I had daring and exciting are kind of close.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for just this conversation. We're having this conversation in the middle of what is my work day. And when I was looking at, I knew I wanted to be here. I feel it so refreshed talking with you guys. And
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I feel refreshed too, talking with you and Ariel.
Oh, good.
I did want to say one thing, because you were talking about your husband, and I know your husband. We know your son as well. We both know him, and he's just like this incredible guy. And
which one?
Both are, but
okay.
And I have a feeling from time to time you get a gap in your ability to relate to him. Like you find him annoying, or like I don't have time, or whatever.
Yes, to both.
And when that happens, chances are you're not kind to yourself. That's the starting place of where your relationship is in that moment. So, like today, Shya was talking to me. I was in the midst of actually, I think, typing an email, which he didn't recognize. And he's like, are you listening to me? And I was like, no, I wasn't listening. And my immediate reaction could either be to get defensive. I was doing an email, or to, get combative, or be hard on myself or be hard on him. You should check in and see if I'm available when you speak to me. Or, one is combative, one is defensive. Or you have this moment of kindness, like, okay, what do you want to talk to me about? Where you don't have to go into either mode.
When I'm driving down the road and there's a slow car in front of me, I figure I need to slow down rather than complain about the slow car in front of me. That they're actually saving me from getting a ticket for speeding.
Or saving your life.
Or saving my life.
Wow.
That the universe is showing up perfectly. When I drive to the beach to go fishing, it's about 80 miles. And so it's an hour and a half drive at high speed. And every time I get into my vehicle, I bring awareness to the fact that this is a lethal weapon. And I'm going out amongst people who are driven to get to where they think they need to get to at high speeds. And so it's dangerous out there. So I bring my awareness to, I want to make it home to Ariel.
Yay.
So it's like when I pick up a power tool, I know it can take my finger, my hand, my arm, my leg. Just the same way it cuts through wood, it'll cut through me. So I bring awareness. But you see, most people don't bring awareness to how they go about their lives. They're on a continuum of complaint that life is not showing up the way they would prefer. And their preferences has all been programmed in by the culture they grew up in. They don't prefer to have what do you call those things? Grubs for dinner.
I don't prefer to have grubs.
But if they were Bushmen in the Aborigines of Australia, that was part of their diet as a regular thing. They were much healthier when they were doing that, when they were eating candy and ice cream and sugar.
Right. High protein.
High protein, exactly.
Yeah. It's so funny when, Oh, yeah. When I recalled this conversation, sometimes when I am feeling, when Walt, my husband, when I'm feeling upset myself, and like we have a new house, we moved in last year, and I'll be like yelling at him in a different room, like, hey, did you do this? And he'll yell back at me, or we'll have a conversation and I'll be like, I can't hear you. And sometimes I can't hear you, like it's your problem and you should come to me. Right. And lately I've been like, oh, wait, I can solve this by walking closer to where he is so I can hear him. So I have been noticing that choice that I have in me. And what's really funny is that our son Logan is 2.5. And in the mornings he comes in the room where I am, which is like his playroom and our guest bedroom, and he plays with his trucks. And I'll be in the kitchen, which is not that far away, but sometimes I'll say, Logan, time for breakfast. And he'll go, I can't hear you. And I come in and he's smiling because he knows he can hear me. It's very funny.
That's great.
Life is great, isn't it? Mm.
It is. Yeah. And thank you guys. Thanks for this show. Thanks for your seminars. They're really a gift and just so incredibly wonderful. And whoever's listening out here, I encourage you to come and join us for a seminar because they are wonderful. And now they're so accessible that they're virtual. Most of them are. So I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
I want to go back to something where you started. We started this conversation you said that it's your idea that the format of this is you have a question and we answer and whatnot. And you launched into a conversation with us. I think a lot of people think that they can't come to a seminar if they don't have a well-formed question or perhaps a problem.
Yes.
See,
right.
our approach is not problem solution oriented. It really is about discovering how to access and live in the current moment of your life, which for most people, they never even think about something like that.
So I really appreciate, Val, that you came today, not in particular because you needed something, but as an exploration of possibility. And that's what I really see these podcasts are about, our seminars are about, and our whole community is about. And of course, people hit rough patches from time to time. And then it is coming and saying, hey, I have this challenge or I have this problem. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not primarily a problem solution framework. It's wow, what's possible today?
Well,
what's
here's
possible
the
tonight?
other thing. When you get into the current moment of your life, you cease creating problems. See, when you bring awareness to how you're being, you don't do those things that cause you to have repercussions down the road that are upsetting or damaging.
And that's a whole other episode. We'll have to
Talk about
play with that one.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks
so
for being
much.
with us today.
And give our love to your lovely husband and magnificent little boy.
Thank you. I will. I'm sure they'll send it back.
Thanks.
Ooh, this was fun.
Yes.
Are you enjoying this podcast? You can leave a review on your favorite podcast app. It helps other people find being here. And if you feel to, thanks in advance. And if you'd like, you can subscribe there as well. Next week's episode
is celebrating interdependence. You know, it's interesting. When I saw that there, I read independence, but then I looked further
and saw
the truth of it.
Interdependence.
You know, because I depend on you.
I'm happy about that. We'll be back next week.
I was waiting for you to say you depend on me too.
Clearly, look, I'm going to do the first half of the sentence. I'm depending on you to do the second. Ready?
Ready.
We'll be back next week.
So come on back.
And don't miss
being
here.
Okay.
Being here.
Being here.